Hi, I'm Kevin, a retired Australian living here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. So welcome to my balcony and welcome to my channel, 52 Weeks. Every week I put out a video on my life, my retired life, here in Chiang Mai. But what does it all cost, I hear you ask? Well, I've decided to answer that question with a series on my 2025 costs. In past episodes, I've looked at my yearly setup expenses, which are, things like visas, monthly bills, and my day-to-day spending. And today's episode 4 in my 2025 cost series, I'm going to look at putting all that together. So we'll see what it all costs me for 2025. But first, let's put in place some ground rules. I'm going to be doing today's video using the currency Thai baht because that's what most of my spending is in. But I will be doing some conversions to other currencies that people might be interested in towards the end of the video. But what you have to understand is exchange rates vary. So what I'm using is the currency exchange rates based on when I was doing the video. I've also added it up so that it works out as yearly, monthly and daily, but in doing so there have been some roundings, so I didn't deal with half a baht here and there or 3/4 of a baht or whatever it was. But what that means is when you get to the end, if you actually do the maths between the totals for the year and spread across a month or across a day, then they won't quite add up, but that's just the rounding areas. Okay, so let's put it all together. Firstly, the yearly setup. Things like visa, health insurance, driver's license, all of those costs that come in at a fixed point in the year. So that cost me 98,212 baht for the year, which averages out to 8,185 baht per month or 270 baht daily. Next up was monthly bills, things like rent, power, water, phone. That was 9,150 baht per month. Over the year, that works out as 109,800 baht. And that averages out to 301 baht per day. And finally, daily spending, which I averaged out over a week and just came up with a daily figure as an average of that week. It includes everything else, food, entertainment, medicine, anything I spend on a day-to-day basis. And that worked out to an average of 520 baht per day. And over a month, that's 15,817 baht. And in a year, that's 189,800 baht. Okay. So that totals up to 397,812 baht for 2025. And if you want to think about that as, what you spend per month, it works out to 33,152 baht per month. And if you're into what it is in daily spending, that's 1,091 baht per day. So that's what 2025 will cost living full-time here in Chiang Mai. Now, you should be seeing conversions into some of those other currencies I talked about, and you might be interested in that. I'll also put links to the detailed episodes where I worked out each of those costs as we went through the video. and they should also appear in the description box down below. So hopefully that all works out. So that's it, what it costs to live my life here in Chiang Mai, Thailand in 2025. So those are my costs for 2025. I've done my best to show my lifestyle and what I get for that. If you're coming here, your costs will depend on what your expectations are and the lifestyle you want to live. So for example, I do a lot of walking, I enjoy walking, but if you want to use transport, that's going to add to the expenses for you, and quite considerably. If you want to have a motorcycle or a car, that will also add, and those expenses will be a considerable addition as well. Or if you wanted to kind of take advantage of the nightlife, that is a really, really big expense that some people spend on. So you'd have to think about that. I lead a modest life here in Chiang Mai. It suits me. What I work out so far based on a year in Thailand is pretty accurate. I'm towards the end of the year, and it's all going pretty much as the math predicts. But that's a figure based on if I'm living here in Chiang Mai, living my modest lifestyle. And if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that I have done a lot of travel for this year, and that adds to the expense as well. So if you are planning on travelling, you will want to take that into account too. I'm actually hoping to do a video on what travelling would add to the costs by the end of the year, but I have all the figures from that big trip I did, but I have to add them up, work them out, so that's a lot of mathematics, and at the moment I'm a little mathed out. So I'm hoping to get that done by the end of the year, maybe early next year. We'll see how it goes. So there are also some things that I would suggest if you're planning to live in Thailand for an extended period. First of all, think about the life you want and the expectations you have of your time here in Thailand. That's really important, and that will dictate the budget that you have. So this one works for me, it might not work for you. You also need to have a backup plan. For me, I've got a block of money here in Thailand and a block of money sitting at home as well, and they're sitting there in case something goes wrong. Things can go wrong. You might see, for example, at the beginning of my travels in Malaysia, I had difficulty accessing some of my bank accounts. So having backup plans and having money sitting here in blocks was useful in solving those problems. So, you know, have those backup plans, have that money there if something goes wrong. You should also make sure that you have many ways to access that money. So for me, I had a couple of credit cards, I had 2 bank accounts that I could swap money between, and I had a couple of debit cards as well. But when 2 of my credit cards stopped working in Malaysia, that caused me some problems. Because I had the backup plans and because I had multiple ways of accessing money, I could fix those problems. So it did cause some inconvenience, but the backup plans helped. And the other thing I would suggest to you is make sure you have some health insurance. So that's one of the big things that can go wrong when you're living in another country. For me, if I'm living in Australia, I can access healthcare pretty easily without having to spend lots of money. That's the way the health system works in Australia. But here, if I get really sick or I have an accident, then I'm not covered by Thai healthcare, and I have to pay for all of those cares. So I have health insurance, which for me is also part of my visa requirements. Okay, I think that's it. I hope that was useful to you in some way. As I say, don't take it as gospel. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what works for me and the sort of life I get for it here in Thailand. Think about what you want. Have a look at some other people. There are other people who tell you what costs much more. There are some who tell you what costs much less, but you know, I would find that very difficult, I think, living on some of the budgets that people put out. But for me, what I've shown you is pretty comfortable. Anyway, I hope that has been of use to you, and hopefully I will catch you when I get into talking about how much my travel might cost and how that adds to my expenses for living here overseas in Thailand.